Hi everyone, welcome back to my vlog, laid off at 58. This is vlog number 2, and a lot has happened in the week that I've had it out. So I'd like to thank my new subscribers, all 17 of you, and I have 112 views and I have 13 likes. Thanks for the support. I also had the opportunity to speak to Barry Forward, and he is the gentleman behind the podcast Reboot Forward. And Reboot Forward is about transition, it's about change, it's about reinvention, it's about moving ourselves forward in our daily life, but also in situations that arise. How do we change with the times? And Barry has helped me a lot. I've listened to all of his podcasts now. They're really interesting. So I ask you, enjoy them and take heed. They've got a lot to offer. Like I promised, this week is going to be about the paperwork, the work involved with your termination. Now, I used to be the document control lead for a large engineering company with Northern Energy Properties, and I was the lead for that. So when it comes to paper, I'm going to teach you what you need to do to make it easier for yourself. So you're going to need a few things. You're going to need a box. You're going to need a container, something to put the files in that you're going to be using a lot of over the next 30, 60, and 90 days. You can think about filing them in your regular file cabinet when this is over. But for the moment, you're going to need something to put it in, and something that's portable, something you can carry with you, because you're going to be taking meetings. And with COVID, you're going to be taking meetings by Zoom or on the phone. You're going to need a notebook, because you never want to get on the phone without something to write down with. So here's the page. The page is the information you need anytime you ask a question. So you need the date and who you spoke to. I spoke to Fred on January 25th at 4 p.m. You need to know the topic that you talked about. Then you're going to put down some notes, just some notes as you're talking along. And is there anything else you have to do? And is there anybody else you have to contact? You need all of this information. If you are calling into government agencies, I spoke to somebody, let me assure you, they don't exist and they can't be found. You have to be really, really specific. I used to work in a hotel that we did that, and people would say, well, somebody told me I could have this rate. We don't have anybody called somebody working for us, or anybody, or that person. We need names, and so do governments. This is a very busy time. I just heard from friends that are working in my industry, and there's this one company, there's a few hundred coming off the line and into termination just before Christmas. So this is also another factor that you have to be very aware of. Everything that we do here is timed, and that time is being hindered by the holiday in the middle or at the beginning of it. I have not heard that anybody's going to give you leeway because there's a holiday. So you have to be very prepared after you've heard the termination notice to go to work. And it's hard. It's hard because the rug has been pulled out from under you. You may have expected it, you may not have. But either way, it's a tough go. And it's a tough go at this time of year. So I want to get you organized and make it as smooth as possible and as unhurtful as possible as well. So in this file folder with this notepad, you're going to have the first file. The first file is your termination paperwork. It's going to have the termination documentation. It's going to have whatever emails were talked to you that you have gone back and forth with. It's going to have your signed copies. It's going to have any receipt of courier. Now, the reason you want that is because if it gets lost, you can say, no, on this date, I mailed it. I've got the documentation that says I have to do that. So this documentation is very intensive. It is written by lawyers. So there is a lot of legal terms in it. If you are uncomfortable reading it, you should get a lawyer to read it. There is a lot of verbiage in there about non-disclosure, secrecy. You can't tell anybody what's in these documents. You can tell your lawyer and your accountant. That's it. So I'm going to be as vague as possible because I signed those same documents. But you need to know that there are steps. One of the steps is the activation. So you have been terminated. You have gotten your forms. But things haven't started yet because those forms have not been signed and submitted back to the company. By signing those forms and sending back the information they request, that's going to tell them what documentation to send to you. So if you have a severance package coming to you, you need to decide what you're going to do with that money. And they may give you options. So the option 1 would be you get it in cash. Option 2 is you get it into payments or however they decide. Option 3 is do you want it this year or next year? You can shove them off for a time. Do you want it in your RSP? Do you want it in a spousal RSP? How do you want this money dispersed to you? One of the things I would suggest is you go to the Canada Revenue Agency, which is known as a CRA. You want to know how much money you have available in your RSPs if you've not been paying them, and how much money you have in your TFSA. So your RSP is a Registered Retirement Savings Plan. It is a tax deferment pension plan set up by the government for Canadians. So you can put money in there and get a tax break. I shouldn't say that. You're going to get a tax deferment. So at some point you're going to pay taxes. You're just not going to pay taxes right now. You can talk to your accountant about that or your investment person. The next one is a TFSA. That is for a tax-free savings account. So you've paid the taxes on the money. You put the money in the savings account. You put whatever investment you want in the savings account. Any money it generates, you don't pay any more taxes on. Those are the basics. Again, you're going to need to talk to your financial people. Your bank, if you don't have a financial person, find one. Your bank is probably the best place to start at the moment if you don't have one. And that information is going to be used by them. Okay? You're going to be using this a lot, especially around that severance package. So the CRA is where you get it because they're going to say, how much money have you got left over in your RSPs? You cannot go over on these accounts. So you really need to know how much money you can put into them. They're the ones that are going to give you the up-to-date information. Pensions and investments. So companies may or may not allow you to leave their pension plan. If you are in a pension plan that's already held and you can't leave it, you need to have the information about when that pension is going to be paid to you, how much is going to be paid to you, and how do you contact them about getting this money. The investment plans. Quite often the investment plans that you have that are not in pension plans, you're going to have to move. Now, many of the pension plans would be in something like a Sun Life or something like that. They're going to say, oh, we've got a mirror for you. We can just transfer that right into the one that looks just like the one you have. That's a good time to find out if it's actually working for you. Do you need to put it into something else? This is the time to do it. There may also be money in there that you can take out without any tax burdens to live on, should you need to. So you want to be able to contact these people, get how much you have in it, what are the circumstances around that money. You need to know this. And this is going to be a process. This takes time. You're going to be talking to a lot of people. The big one. Unemployment. So unemployment is the benefits that you get for being unemployed. This is an odd time. COVID has changed things. So quite often there's no waiting period. There's different things in Canada called CERBs. You need to research those. Those are monies that can be paid to you for COVID if you've lost your job, but there's a lot of stipulations. If you do not follow the rules and take CERB that you're not allowed to, the government's going to ask for it back. So you really want to be on that before you start looking at CERB. But in the meantime, you have unemployment. To get your unemployment, it is a process. And it's a process that you can't lose your sense of humor on. So you get terminated. From the time that you are terminated to the time you activate your unemployment is 30 days. That is regardless of whether or not you have a severance package. If you wait and say, well, I'll just spend my severance package first, because I'm not going to get my UI or my unemployment because of that, it's going to be too late. You have to apply for it prior to using up your severance package. Now, they may say, okay, use your severance package, and then you can go on UIC if you've not found work. But the paperwork itself has to be done prior to. This starts with you going to your favorite government. So in Canada, it's whatever province. I went to Alberta. Alberta has a website. The Alberta government has a website. You have to get onto that website and register. Now that gives you a number. And you get so far in your registration, and it says, you will need a code to continue. We will be mailing, yes, I said mailing, not emailing, postal mailing, the code to you for security reasons. It can take up to 10 days. Mine did not, but when this goes out, it'll be December 23rd. So we're in the middle of Christmas. And this year, a lot of people mailed. So it may take you 10 days to get that code. From there, you go on to the Services Canada website. I will add a link in the notes. And you fill out their form. That will take you to unemployment or benefits. And that, again, is a process. It's at the bottom of the page. It's called the Quick Enrollment. I got mired in the page above it because there's a lot of forms. It turns out you go to the bottom of the page. It's right there. You fill out so far, and guess what? It says you're going to get a code. And that code is going to be mailed to you. And it's going to take up to 10 days. So as much as it says, you've got 30 days in which to sign your termination to get it back to us, you don't. Not if you want unemployment. This is a process that kind of has a lot of moving parts, and you have to do all of them together. There are telephone numbers to call, and I say start in the morning, early. A lot of them based in the east, so if you're in the west, it's kind of provincial, so it's going to be on their timelines. Bring coffee, Kleenex, doodles. Have a phone that you can walk around with. You're going to be on hold for hours at every turn. So between the provincial, the federal, and the unemployment, you're going to be on hold for hours. Don't lose your sense of humor. These people, they get yelled at a lot, and people are frustrated. You don't get to be one of them. Because what happens is they're going to hang up on you. And you're going to start again. So use all of those negotiation skills that you learned in the corporate world, in the world where you had to get people from point A to point B. You need to do that. You need to be calm. You need to be pleasant. And by being pleasant, they're going to be, that will be unusual for them. So be pleasant. Get the questions you need answered. Do the stuff. It's a process. You cannot you cannot circumvent it. You have to do it. And you have to do it politely. So I suggest doodling, knitting, writing letters, journaling, carving, whatever it needs to do at a desk to fill in the time. But don't put it off. Do not put it off. There's a lot of people becoming unemployed, and because they're becoming unemployed en masse, there's going to be a lot of people in line. So you need to step on this, and you need to get it done. So today was all about paperwork, and it wasn't terribly exciting. It is necessary. It is something that you have to do. You just have to do it. You just have to bite the bullet and do it. The one nice thing is, because of the circumstances we're in, they're not doing a lot of waiting periods on unemployment. They seem to be pushing people through. That's very nice of them. It's not a lot. Certainly not a lot if you're used to energy wages, or management wages. So what you have to do is start budgeting. So in the next vlogs, I'm going to be talking about household expenses, budgeting, and we're going to do something fun next time. What we're going to do is start looking at what I'm calling differently funded incomes. Not all of us can go back to the corporate world. There's no place for us there. Sometimes we're not wanted because of all the isms that we will be discussing. Thank you, Susan, for sending me that information. I've started the research now. It's not pretty. It is morphing into a couple of other things, so that's going to be kind of interesting. So what you need to do is find a way of making a living. So what I'm going to suggest to you, a bit of homework if you care to join me, and I will ask you to subscribe and like and follow. Thank you very much. I'm very impressed with that. Get a coloring book. I know, it sounds odd. Get a coloring book, get crayons, get pencil crayons, get whatever you need to do, paints. You want a book we can write some lists in, and you can start them now. You can start thinking, what do I want to do when I grow up? And that's not a facetious statement. That's what do I want to do for the next 50 years? We're living a very long time, and we want to have some fun doing it, and maybe we want to do something different. So let's start looking at that, what it looks like, because when you start doing your different management programs to find out where you want to be, that's one of the things that they're going to be asking you. So it would be nice if you had some good answers. Again, guys, this is a process. It's scary, but it's not bad. And we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So thank you again for subscribing, liking, following. And I'll talk to you next week. I'm Jean.